wagon would park outside there full of hay, and this track had a trolley on it that you just saw back there, and on the end of it was through a series of rope, you had a harpoon fork that you could drop down into the hay and then clamp it with a series of hooks, and you would lift the hay up to the point where it came into the barn, and then the hay horse would pull it back all the way wherever you wanted to trip it, and you'd trip it and then move the hay back to where you wanted to have it parked for the winter.
So the hay horse is on the outside of the barn on the other end.
And he pulls the rope. He pulls the rope that pulls the hay up into the barn and drops it.
And what do you say to the hay horse?
You'd say, "Hi, stop!" And when he got to where you want him to go and you trip the hay, you say, "Whoa, back!" That's how we did it. Hi, stop!
And was someone leading him, or are you just doing that?
Yeah, oh yeah, you had someone had to be in charge of the horse,
yeah.
Right? Yeah. But you did it by yelling.
And everyone was outside over here loading up the hay fork, were they?
One person would push the harpoons, and most of the work was up here, moving the hay back away from where it was dropped. Say you drop it right here, then you've got to take pitchforks and throw it that way, and pretty soon you build it up, and the whole barn is full of hay, and you walk out down the ladder.
And you build it up all the way to the top of that ladder.
Well, you put in as much hay as you had horses to feed, and at one time, as I say, we had a dozen horses here, so they'd fill the whole barn, but by the time I was even little, we didn't have that many horses, so we didn't need that much hay.
That would be hay for how long?
Oh, for the winter. Yeah.
Oh, winter season.
One season,
for
round.
6 months or something, or 9 months?
Well, they come
8 months.
in November and probably go back out in May. So yeah, 6 months, sure.
All right. And these barns were built by?
That would be Clement, my grandfather. This was a show farm, really. These barns, you don't see barns like this very often.
Because of the quality.
Yeah, look how well built they are. And they had slate roofs. You don't see slate roof barns. I mean, this just doesn't happen.
They still have this original slate roofs?
Yeah, sure do.
So
that's why they've held up. Barns get dilapidated when the roof leaks and they start falling apart.
what kind of wood do you think this is? And these beams?
These posts, you mean?
Yep, and the beam, yep, the whole...
They could be beech perhaps, or the beams, oak.
It's fairly rough hewn.
What that is, I'm not sure what that piece is, but they used to use beech and oak.
Look at that close grain. It'll be a very slow-growing wood, or it's not pine by any means. I think it's not softwood, is it?
Yeah.
Look at how fine that grain is.
So a lot of the construction beams in these two barns came from an old closed down tile factory over in Canal Winchester.
And the tile, as in not as in bathroom tile, but as in drainage tile.
Drainage tile, yeah.
Which today I would call clay pipe, or.
They use plastic pipe.
Now they use plastic, but back then it would have been clay.
Oh, clay tile.
Yeah.
Sure. Yep.
And there's the basketball hoop. We used to play hoop with the boys,
That's
I guess, with the brothers.
And you had to know where the holes were in the barn, for the barn.
You had holes back then too, eh?
Yeah.
And patched up?
Some of them been patched up, but there's one right there, and you had to kind of dribble around.
And do a layout. Is that quite... here, you hold the camera for a second. Let me see if that's filming just now. It's on film.
Oh.
Is that quite 10 feet? Oh, a little bit short. Of course, I'm standing on some hay here. How old is this hay? It's been here at least since '76.
Long before that.
We've got some old corn cobs.
Yeah. Well, we haven't had horses since about in the late 40s.
So this hay is here since the late 40s.
Yeah.
Really? It hasn't been eaten by... I see there's some dung here. What's that from? That's big dung for a...
I don't know how that got here.
Animal to get up here.
I don't know what that is.
And that's not just that's not just dog dung.
No, I don't know what it is. So it's hard to say.
And that looks like that's some proper dung there. That's like from a fair-sized animal, yeah.
I don't know how that stuff got there.
That's not just rodent.
The animal was not up here. I
No, I was going to say. Well, I thought when I was a kid and came here in 1976, this was endlessly fascinating to me. A ladder that would come up through a hole in the ground. It reminded me of my dreams of underwater. I used to dream of this underwater, this lower bit being underwater, and somehow you come up through here, and thoughts of submarines and underwater cities and things. Those are my.
That was kind of dreamy there, wasn't it?
Yeah, over here was the chicken coop.
Oh yeah, Dad built this, used that space to put in chickens. Now back then we had a hen house up with a house up front.
Yeah.
And that's where we kept our first year, you might say, to put our pullets in there, and they laid for a year, and then you put them into a mold, and then you could recycle them, and they'd lay another year. And we brought those second year hens over here into this barn.
They lay less in the second year than they did.
Yeah, somewhat less. Yeah.
What's a molt?
A molt is one of they lose their feathers and they.
Oh, molt like that. Oh, okay, molt like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and they stop laying when they molt. They stop laying. You force them into a molt, actually.
You force them. How do you force them into molt?
Pull feet away from them and put them in a dark house.
To make them think it's winter, basically.
I don't know. Whatever they think, it works.
That sounds like a winter. Yeah.
But then you recycle them.
Now I'm just going to film this into the barn. You've told me before it was built in the 1920s, but today you and I noticed for the first time. I don't know how clear it will be on the camera. We noticed just on the corner there. It says 1920. That might have been something that wasn't visible before. If it was. Yeah, well, it might be that whatever it was written in is maybe painted over, and over the years the paint faded away or the chemicals reacted so that it became visible. So Clement Vallandingham, who's a banker, built this as a show farm. Was it a bit of a hobby for him, Dad?
I would say so.
Yeah. And here's the contraption. The light's not good enough to show it very well. But there's the contraption. And it was just, you had some pulleys on there, or you just had, it was more than just a single pulley there. What is that thing?
Well, that dolly on the track, you mean?
Yeah.
It's called a car.
It's a car, yeah. And what does the car do?
Well, it's like back and forth on the track, and it's got hanging from it is a harpoon fork.
Is the fork still on there? Is that what that is? There's something like, because that's more than just, it looks like it's much more complicated machinery than a mere dolly.
Well, it has to work, it has some mechanical movement to it, but the fork is about at least 3 feet long, and you have 2 of them, and long forks. We might find one in the other barn.
Okay.
More likely to find it in the other barn.
I'll just, yep.
Continue to make hay.
I'll just run out there and take a quick photo of it.